'Cause what I'm trying to do is enthuse you, so that you and I might together strive to change more people's point of view for those who can't eat as
Hey guys, Bobby Hughes here with Heritage Pride Custom Firearms. Today we're going to be talking about the primer system on the Hornady lock and load AP press. The primer system is basically set up for two types of primers, small primers and large primers, which are pretty much all the primers you're going to be using. Alright, so the way that you change it out, or the components I guess we should start with, are the components that will come on your press when you first get it. You know, when you first get your press, it should be set up with large primer, or for large primer. And what that consists of, to make the large primers work inside the press here itself, there are two components. You've got your slider here, which runs on this rail. It's kept under tension with this spring, and it follows this rail as it goes up, and I'll show you what it does. This is actually going to follow the rail and move out back here and then come back in. Alright, so what happens is eventually this little hole right here is going to pick up a primer and then push it back forward and line it up underneath the shell plate, which lines up underneath the station to seat the primer. And then when we activate the handle backwards, it actually pushes the stem up, which is this spring-loaded part here that's mounted underneath the carrier here. Alright, and that seats the primer in the bottom of the case. So this is the setup for the large, and what I have installed now is for the small. Let me show you how it works, and then I will show you how to change it out. So when we run it up, when we run the action up, you can see how it follows that rail. And what it's going to do is pull all the way back, and it's actually going to pick up a primer from this hole right here, which in a minute I'll show you what that's for. But it picks up the primer there, and then as you go back down, then it pushes the primer and seats the primer right here underneath the case. You push the handle backwards, and it seats the primer in the bottom of the case. Now, to change out for between large and small, you have a little spring back here. So I'm just going to pull this back a little bit to where I can get to it, and then put pressure on it. You just unhook this spring and then pull this out, and you'll see the bottom has a little groove system in it. Alright, so then if we were going to change over to large, I would just slide that in and then hook the spring back on it, and it's ready to go, minus the small, or I would have to change out our seating stem that's underneath the shell case here, or the carrier here. So the carrier, as far as that goes, as far as changing that out, you just screw this one out, put the new one in. We're going to load some small here in a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and change this back to my small pistol primer. So just set it in there, hook the spring back on it, and it's good to go. And I've already changed out my seating stem in the bottom of the carrier. So that is the components as far as the mechanical part. Alright, so you also have what's called the primer drop tubes. You have two different sizes. You have a small and you have a large. The press comes with one of each. Alright, and on one end of this primer tube, drop tube, you have a shoulder that's kind of milled in there. And that shoulder is made to set right down inside of this hole here, and it slides right down in there just like that. And then you have a protective shroud, which is this part, and it's threaded on the inside on one end. Then that'll slide right down over top of the drop tube, and then it just threads right down onto the press just like so. Alright, and then you have this plastic shroud here tip, and this goes right on the top. Right on the top here, and just pops on, and now that holds everything so nice and neat. Every time you cycle, it picks a primer up, and you seat it, pick another one up, seat it. So I have here what's called a primer flipper. It's basically just a tray with the little grooves on it to help turn them all right side up. You're gonna need something like that. You don't have to have it, but you need some sort of little tray to put your primers in. I've got my small primers here, and I've got my pickup tube. So I'm going to take my small primers and lay them in my tray here. I'm going to go ahead and turn them all right side up. just like that. And then I'm going to use my little tray lid here. I'm going to put it back on it. I'm going to flip them over and then pull the case off of it and just lay it right down like that. Now what we got to do is we need to pick up one primer at a time with our pickup tube, and that's where having that little tray comes in really handy. Alright, so we're just going to use our pickup tube and just load our primers up in it just like this. It's real easy. And once you get them all loaded up, then we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to load them in the actual press. Now once you get your primers in your tube, then you'll have one that's stuck right in the tip here, and your press kit will come with a little rod that you can use to just push that bad boy on down in there. Alright, we're just going to set it right on top of the tube just like that, and then go ahead and pull our little cotter pin and they'll just drop right in like that, and then we'll take our rod and push it right down in there to make sure that they dropped in, and now it's loaded. That's all there is to it. So now when you actuate the handle, it will actually go back and pick a primer up and set it underneath for us so that we can seat it in our case. That's all there is to it, guys. In the next video we'll get into setting up the powder drop again and move on with some more reloading. So anyway guys, until next time, get out there, shoot some guns, be safe, and most importantly, have fun.